5 reasons why men linger after hurting you. Now, I'm excited for this topic because I have a lot of women approach me all the time and tell me, yeah, but he's still texting me, or he still shows up in the bar that I go to, and why are they still lingering? So check this video out if you want to learn the reasons why this could be the case. Now, what I see, what happens a lot is that we actually make meanings, we make interpretations that are absolutely not true. We actually think the man may be still emotionally invested in us, which in some cases isn't true, but in other cases it's absolutely not. I'm Antia, founder and creator of the Magnetize Your Man method. And look, this is the channel where we magnetize your man so that the man you want, desires, and most importantly, pursues you forever. Now, if you like what you see, like, share, and subscribe for more great videos coming your way to help you to attract the right man for you. And certainly listen all the way through the end for an added surprising bonus that will truly tell you why the man is truly still lingering. Why is he still in your life if he hurt you? So let's go ahead and dive right into the 5 reasons why men linger after hurting you. Now, I'm going to start off with a more complex, complicated one, which is having a dysfunctional dynamic, right? So just picture this. So imagine this particular guy grew up in a household where love equaled hurt, right? Where love equaled abuse. So guess what? He will then actually translate that into the relationship. So what do I mean when I say love equals hurt, love equals abuse? So for example, like maybe he had like an abusive dad, and maybe he watched his dad abuse his mom, but then the next day say, I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, all those things. And he saw this over and over and over again, right? Or maybe he had a punishing parent and they said, I'm hitting you because I love you, right? I'm disciplining you because I love you. And that causes like a lot of confusion inside of the brain of your particular partner, right? And then what happens is when he then ends up hurting you, if he makes a mistake, right? He messes up, he disrespects you in some way, shape, or form, right? But definitely hurts your feelings, then he's going back into his brain and saying, okay, wait a minute, okay, hurt equals love, right? So obviously I stay in her life. However, if you come from the perspective, like, no, I mean, if somebody hurts you, you walk away, right? Like maybe you had parents and you actually saw that they're respecting each other. They taught you to respect yourself, that your words, your actions, and your thoughts are actually should match. So you have integrity, you walk away. So for you, it's very confusing when a man stays after he hurt you, right? This doesn't make any sense because clearly he did it on purpose, and clearly like he should walk away, right? Because he now disrespected you. But he's not doing that because it's a dysfunctional dynamic. And unfortunately, it can even become a very codependent dynamic if you actually feel and hope that that means like he's still interested in you, he's still invested in you, and he is, but it also always brings hurt and pain with it. Now, the other dysfunction dynamic that can occur, right, is that the man needs variety. Now, this is sick. I'm not saying that this is like normal, but some men, right, they actually say, you know what, I need a little bit spice in the soup here. It's a little boring. As a matter of fact, when I dated a guy before I met my husband, Brody, he actually was always picking fights and he was like hurting me and he was condescending. And when I actually said, you know what, I'm done, I'm walking out of this, like finito, right? He said, no, it's just the spice. Every relationship needs spice in the soup. So he just couldn't be with the peace, right? He just couldn't be with like each other's respect. He couldn't be with the calm, quiet serenity of a relationship. He needed to create this variety, this up and down, this fire, right? That of course led to lots of hurt in order for him to continue to be attracted to me. So that could be one reason why a man lingers after he hurts you. Number 4 is, and that you may have heard before from your girlfriends, he takes advantage of you. right? Like you have some gifts, some talents. Maybe you're a great therapist. You always listen to him. Maybe sexually, there's like lots of attraction there, right? Like you're obviously quote unquote good and bad. Also, he could be, of course, a narcissist. So you are the perfect host for him being the parasite, right? So remember, narcissists are very needy. So they constantly need that attention. They need somebody who admires them. They need somebody who looks up to them. And maybe that was you. And now if he would just like go away, like he would lose out on that because you were always putting him on a pedestal. So he continues to take advantage of you because he's saying, no, wait a minute. I want that quote unquote life force energy from this woman because it makes me feel good about myself. Right? Remember, they just think about themselves. I was just talking with a client and she had a conversation with her guy. And the guy literally said, oh, I was just in this particular scenario, just thinking about myself. I wasn't really thinking about your feelings. And that is so true of a narcissist. Like they literally think only about themselves, right? So if they still have a silent payoff, so to say, from being with you, unfortunately, even after they hurt you, they will try to continue to be in your life. Because why would he let the candy fall to the ground, so to say, right? Like if you have some candy to give to him that he really loves emotionally, physically, spiritually, like he will actually do that, right? Because what can happen too is when we're spending a lot of time together, sometimes we can create a co-creative field. And if he feels, so I'm talking about spiritually, right? If he feels like you create this co-creative field where he always has like the best ideas, you're almost like his muse, he will continue to take advantage of you even after he hurt you, right? He will not respect you because he will value himself more. Number 3, he is not aware that he hurt you. Now remember, in the beginning of the video, I was talking about that we're coming from different backgrounds, right? You watched your parents deal with each other in different ways, and they were also dealing with you in different ways. They were teaching you different values, right? And so, for example, if someone is emotionally not as connected, is not as present, is not as conscious, he's not aware that he hurt you. That when he said, I don't know, I'm just going to give an example, like he's the better half of your relationship and that hurt you, like, well, you're the better, well, who do you think you are, right? Or something like that. And he meant it in a joking way, or maybe he was actually in a secure moment and he said it because he was like not aware, right? Remember, we go through temporary amnesia when we go through fight or flight, right? So we delete, we distort, and we generalize reality based on our unconscious expectations. So he may totally forgot about that, or maybe he watched his parents slightly make fun of each other, be slightly condescending, which was the case for me. I saw my parents do that. I saw my dad doing that with my mom, right? So I would not be aware when I hurt the other person or when I disrespect the other person, because to me that was quote unquote normal, right? So that's always like where I tell my women, well, does he know that he hurt you? Well, Antia, are you kidding me? Well, it's really important. Well, so here I give you an example. So let's say you sit down with your guy, right? And he hurt you, and you clearly can tell, like, he doesn't know that he hurt you because there's no acknowledgement. He just moves on with life. And you can literally say, hey, can I be honest with you? I noticed something. And of course, most often the man would say yes. And then you can say, you know what I'm noticing is last Thursday, when we had this conversation, that what you said really hurt me. I feel really hurt. And what I'm noticing is that you seem to be moving on with life, and I'm confused because I'm still hurt. Like I'm not open to you right now. Like I feel like I'm closing up, right? So when you say that to him, and he's like, oh, tell me more, like, what do you mean? Like, what happened, And you bring this to his attention, and then you see that he wants to actually improve, he deserves a second chance. Now, of course, if you see after he brings to his attention and he's not changing and he's like just becoming up with excuses or denials, or like, kind of like belittling this, the situation, like, oh, come on, like, don't be so serious all the time, right? And not respecting you, then you still have time to move on. Now, one of the most complicated cases why a man would linger after he hurts you is because he has a parts conflict. Now, a lot of women that come to me have a parts conflict. And what I mean by that is there's a part inside of them, an energy inside of them, that wants to have the deep connected long-term relationship, right? That wants to be married, that wants to come home to the man of their dreams every day, that wants to have the man to protect them, to lead them, to support them. However, on the other hand, they have this other part. And this other part has collected a lot of evidence from the past why love is not safe, right? So, for example, they may have actually had an emotionally unavailable parent, meaning when they were reaching out for support, please like me, please advocate for me, please approve of me, whatever it is, please meet my needs, it wasn't met. It was dismissed. And they were left feeling lonely, abandoned, confused, disappointed, let down, embarrassed, inadequate, and so on, right? So they don't want to feel that again. So they still have this part inside of them that feels insecure and wants to protect themselves from that hurt. Now, that's particularly true if they have experienced a series of disappointments also then in their respective relationships or even marriages. So now they have a parts conflict because there's a part that wants to have the love, the other part is afraid of that love because it hurt them. And so this can oftentimes happen as well, right? Like that the man actually on the one hand hurt you because he wants to protect himself, because maybe it's better to hurt you than to be hurt. But on the other hand, he of course wants to have the relationship with you. So it's quite confusing and can of course lead to lots of chaos and more arguments, but it can also lead to a lot of healing. Because one thing I always say to my women is if you attract a man into your life who has a conflict inside of themselves, who is confused, that means because you attracted that man into your life and you attract into what you attract into your life is directly proportional to the relationship you have to yourself, you then can see, well, wait a minute, where do I have that conflict inside of myself, right? Where am I avoidant? Where am I shutting down? Where am I not acknowledging when somebody actually makes 2 steps forward, right? Because I'm actually afraid, or I don't feel comfortable receiving because I don't really trust that it lasts, right? And so on. So you get to explore that for yourself and then see how to potentially still make this relationship work. And lastly, number 1 is he feels guilty. Right? Like nobody wants to be the bad guy. I remember when I was dating this guy and he really hurt me. I mean, he basically ghosted me. He stood me up, right? He insulted me. But then he still lingered and I'm like, wait, what is going on? And apart from him being like potentially a psychopath or a sociopath, right? Because they swing back and forth, right? Like it's also like there was this part inside of him that felt guilty, right? Like I don't want to, because the thing is like if a man is like empathic and he can actually feel like your disappointment, your hurt, your heartbreak inside of himself, like he feels guilty, like he feels uncomfortable, right? And when he feels like guilty, he's like just kind of lingering around like, are you okay? I'm not going to completely drop you. I'm not like, he's trying to convince himself, right, that he's not the perpetrator. I don't want to say that he's trying to convince himself that he's the victim, but he's definitely trying to like be sort of supportive in a really dysfunctional way after he just hurt you because he feels guilty and he wants to, like, he doesn't want to feel guilty. Who wants to feel guilty? That feels actually very embarrassing. So at the end of the day, to make a long story short, he actually it's about him. It's not about you. It's about him. It's about how he feels. It's not about how you feel. It's not that he really cares what you think. And this is, by the way, also true when men make you empty promises. They like to hear themselves say, like, oh, hey, yeah, let's meet next weekend. Or, oh my God, it would be so fun to go on this vacation with you. Or it would be so fun to go to this concert with you, because they like to hear themselves say that. But then they're not following through because they don't have that integrity inside of themselves. To be more exact, they haven't developed the wild man energy inside of themselves. The wild man energy is that energy that you encounter, that the man encounters, and then the wild woman, of course, when you really hit an edge, right? When you're like breaking through something that you're absolutely terrified of. And instead of like backing off and saying like, no, thank you, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't want to go there. They're actually going to break through. So the people who are not breaking through, have like a weaker wild man, they will continue to feel guilty. All right, so I'd love to hear from you before we go into the bonus. What were reasons for a man in your past that he lingered? What did your girlfriends tell you? Or what did he tell you? Or what interpretations did you make? Let me know in the comment section. I'd love to know. And lastly, for those of you who stayed until the very end, yes, you know I love a talk about attachment styles. He is an avoidant attachment style. Now, what that means is when he hurts you, for one, he's not aware that he hurt you. We already talked about that piece, because he's emotionally disconnected from himself, meaning he doesn't feel the impact. So you want to write that down, the impact when he hurts you, right? He doesn't feel it because he doesn't allow himself to even feel it to himself, you know? But the other piece also is that when he, of course, feels that you're pulling back because you got disappointed, you got hurt, you're respecting yourself, girlfriend, you're in your queen, you're aligned, you're congruent, you honor yourself, and you're out of here, right? Like, so you're pulling your energy back. That, of course, is then the welcome invitation of the avoidant attachment style to lean back in, right? Because now they feel safe, because now you created the space, the distance. And when you create space and distance to an avoidant, now he actually approximates again, right? He comes in, he seeks the closeness. And of course, as you may or may not know, but if you get then closer again, right, he seeks the distance. And that's why eventually it just doesn't work out with an insecure, distant, avoidant attachment style, unless you're a very, very secure attachment style, and at least the avoidant attachment style is working on himself. Now, if you want to learn more about what is going on for you, then take our free relationship diagnostic to attract the man in the relationship you want at mymquiz.com, and the link is also in the description below. Ladies, I had so much fun shooting this video. Definitely let me know in the comment section what you think, what resonated with you the most, and I will talk to you in the next video. Take care. And if you haven't done so already, watch next when a man deeply loves you. He will start saying these 5 things.